my nigga Ramon with me. But that for my niggas that be honor, you know what I'm saying? Under commanding general. That for my niggas that be honor and a blessing. Look, hey, straight off the top, I love all of my niggas. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top and we ballin' my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home. That's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown. I'm in these streets and close caption. Niggas know we bout that action. If a nigga play with me, then my I'm gon' let him have it. Hey, like you the shit, it's true the shit. Nigga play, I let the Ruger hit. Get on them chairs, they be like, who is this? I'm rude with it. Ain't got no manners, all them pussy niggas talking shit. Y'all know they can't stand us, but we UPK Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm ripping. And my nigga, solid number of real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, get down. Put your boots on, start stepping. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood. I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers, because I love them. I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapping together. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. Oh, I take your life fully, you take mine. That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them grades, and shit got me feeling played. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex, still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Shalom Lord in Christ. We're going to kick it off now. We're going to just jump right into getting started. We're going to clap it up. We're going to clap it up as customary here in ISUPK. We're going to clap it up. We had ISUPK started out at 1 West 125th Street under commanding General Yohana. If you're not an ISUPK, you are not in the truth. Okay? If you're not an ISUPK, you're not in the truth. And the truth is, you wouldn't even understand that until you get in here. And then you'll understand why you wasn't in it until you get in here. So I'm just going to tell you, get in here, look at it, check it out, come in and observe for a little while. Come in and see what we're talking about. Come in and say, just come and say, y'all tell me what's going on. Convince me. Teach me, and then I'll make up my mind. Do something like that. Don't just stay away. Don't just continue with the same old thoughts that you have in your mind. Listen, this is a serious time. We got the information for you. So all I'm saying is, just come, sit down for a little while, listen, ask questions, make up your mind. See if this is the place for you to be. And if you do, you will find out this is the place for you to be. The truth, right here where we are, is the best place for you to be, the best place for you to learn, the best place for our people to raise up. Okay? So, as customary, what I'll do, I'll give a little farming tip. Then we'll go into current events, what's happening locally in our little neck of the woods. We talk about that. And then we'll go into the topic for this evening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. Put it in the comment. If you really want to come on the live, put it in the comment, and I'll send you an invite. I think I know how to put an invite in the comment. I ain't sure I'm that good as yet, but there is a way that can be done. Okay, so we can just move on. Normally, I'll tell you something from the farming perspective. Things get more tough and more tougher and tougher, right? So I urge everybody to get involved with some crop production, some growing of some crops, some doing something to get some kind of crop going. If you have a big backyard, don't just let bushes grow up and weeds grow up and then you just keep cutting the lawn. Create a small garden. Okay? Don't overwhelm yourself if you do that. Take your time and try to plant something. That's my suggestion to you. And if you're living in a high rise or balcony, get a couple of big pots, 5-gallon pots, even larger pots. Put a plant in it. Put a tomato plant. Put a sweet pepper plant. Put a plant that you could actually get something to eat from, and you'll feel really good. That first tomato you take off of that, or sweet pepper, and you cook with it. Yes, you're gonna like it. You put it in your salad or whatever, you're gonna love that. And you do that, you're gonna do more and more and more. All right, until you get your whole balcony filled with stuff, and the neighbors start to complain or start to beg you for stuff. All right, so that's what I say. Get yourself out there, start planting some. Get your hand in the soil. It even feels better. Okay, so let's jump into some of the current events. So, lucky, let me turn this air on in the back of me. That'll do good for after a while. Okay, so lucky for that. Just make sure everything stays cool. I don't warm up too much at this time. All right, so we're going to jump into current events. Now, I know you all would have remembered, those who follow, that the power company had there was an announcement that there was going to be a reduction in the power bill and the amount on your power bill or the usage per kilowatt. However, it's going to be done. You're supposed to see a lesser bill this cycle. Now it's back up. Okay. So it's being said again. So if it happens, I'll let you know in the next live or the live after that, because it have to go through the whole cycle, and we'll know if the kilowatt hour change or whatever it does. All right. So another thing, if you didn't know you was a part of the Israelite family, start thinking about that. You've probably never thought that you were part of the Israelite family. And before I jump into let me see if I could find something in there. Because right now, even in the current events, there's something that I would like to jump from and jump to even before we go any further. It's important that we consider who we are, right? Because I've been reading things time after time, and and the thing is, we don't know why it's happening, but I want to tell you why it's happening. All right. Let me see. Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm just going to read a couple of verses that could actually give us an idea why some of these things that I'm going to be talking about. Why does it have to be so much evil against people like you, people of your same color, and not just around your hood, not just around your block. I'm talking around the earth. When you start to look at that and be cognizant, be aware of that fact, you're going to start waking up. All right. When you come to see that, you're going to wake up. Okay. And if you read from 15 all the way down to 65, I think it is, you will find the things that causes us to realize that we yet in our slavery. All right, so this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 19. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. Okay, so I'm trying to find, well, that's just talking about general curses, general things that's happening. And why is it happening? It's happening because of because our forefathers fall down on the job when Moses brought down the commandments, and he said that if you do this, you do these, you keep these, it's going to be good for you. But if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to be suffering a lot of curses, right? Let me see if I can find the one I'm trying to find, right? Well, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all kingdoms of the earth. That happened to us. That happened. That's how come you could find the 12 tribes in every kingdom of the earth. Right now, you could find them. All right. Why are we so easy to fight against one another? Why are we so hostile against one another? Why are we so easy to get into relationships and get out? Because these things were ingrained in us over the time. We develop a don't care attitude towards our fellow brothers and sisters. Now, I'm trying to find a. So in that, this is why we feel so easy to take one another's life, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 34. So that thou shalt be mad for the sign of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knee and the legs with a sore botch. So here, that's not the one I wanted to read. But this is all curses, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 17. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all the nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. So everywhere we go, everywhere we find ourselves, that's how it's going to be. It's almost like you be the laughing stock, you be the clowns, you be the proverb and the byword, call you niggas, call you spicks, call you these things. But the oppressors, the oppressors, they call honorable names. Okay? When the UPK tell you the white man is the devil, the Bible speak of. Okay. So I'm gonna get back to so these are some of the curses. Now, in 45 and Deuteronomy 20 and 45, it says, more of all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and shall overtake thee until thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. All right. So this is why it's all going down. This is why all the things I'm reading is happening. Let's jump back to the events. Okay, another suicide attempt. That's what I'm talking about. Why are these things happening to the Israelites? They talk about being faint of heart. I don't know if I read that one just now, but in the Deuteronomy 28, it's talking about how your heart, you can be faint of heart. Some of those things happen. Talk about actually from the transatlantic slave trade right up to now. You go and you read Deuteronomy chapter 28 and from 15 all the way to the end. Now, if you read from 1 to 15, you'll see all the blessings. 1 to 14, you'll see all the blessings. If you follow the Lord, all those blessings will come upon you and overtake you. But if you don't, all the curses on the other hand. And that's also a way, that's an identifying marker for the Israelites. Look and see, the Israelites are under the curse, and so the identifying marker is right there in the scriptures. You look at those scriptures and you'll see the identifying marker, and you could identify them in your own life, even if nobody else could see it in theirs. You could see, you read those things and you'll say, yep, the same thing with the prophet says is going to happen to them people is what's happening to me right now. Okay, so as that being said, suicide. Why are people trying to unalive themselves? I mean, young, 27-year-old, male, got all his life to live for ahead of him. the community to support, the nation to build, all is ahead in. And so what? Attempting to unalive himself, right? And then another one, a 21-year-old, fatally shot in the capital. Why are these things happening? Because the moral authority in the Bahamas is not doing their job. I'm telling you, they're not doing their job. If they see, as I said before, you go and sit down before somebody and say, "Teach me morally." So that's what your grandparents did. That's what the grandparents of these same people did. They went to the church and they sat in the church and they said, "Teach me how to be morally right." The church failed the grandparents failed the parents and the grandchildren. And so what happened? We got what we got. Okay? That's how we get what we have. Now, you could run away from that as much as we want to. But the truth is, somebody's responsible for the way these things going because every country don't act that way. You see what they say with Singapore? Is and how low the crime is being in certain parts of the world because people just they take things serious. They take they take they take disobedience serious. They act on it and they cause good examples after that. And so if you want a better community, first you gotta start to be harsh before you can be too soft. Because these things that you see a 21-year-old person fatally shot, and this person just starting to live, right? So, okay, now the next one. Police investigating a viral video that gone around, right? So a viral video went around, and I guess somebody sent the video around, and apparently with some reconsideration, and it seemed to have been somebody went to apologize, a fight break out. Some things, some things you go and make right, and some things you can't correct. You may make a blunder with something. You may not always be able to go back and make things right. It might cause you. Okay, so be careful. Be careful what you put yourself into. Number one, be careful what you do wrong, and be careful what you to try and correct your wrong. You may actually be creating another situation, just going to solve a situation. So be careful with that. Don't just run up on people. Okay, so the next current event, it'll be a Florida court sentenced one of our people for, I guess, for 5 years for cannabis, contraband smuggling and also human smuggling. Now, this ain't new to us. This is not new to our nation. This is not new to they've been smuggling from bootlegging liquor and smuggling drugs and smuggling people. And one of the especially one of the islands that are nearest to the neighbors to the north, they try to do that. But again, in UPK, we don't advocate that anybody break any laws, because if you break these laws, then what happens is you'll be at the mercies of somebody else. You'll be at the mercy of the court. You end up being incarcerated. Even as I was telling somebody simply today, you don't drive around with any law breaking things. You don't drive around with uh anything illegal. When the police stop you, say, "Want to search your car?" Say, "Search the car." Search the car. You want to search me? Search me. All right. But if you're in a position where you have illegal substances, items, or when the police stop you, you got to be almost like carry on like a girl. You know, you can't carry on like a man. You got to carry on like a girl because you don't want them to search you. Okay. So, Lucky, let's hold on a minute. It's Lucky for that. Sometimes you're going to be a referee when you don't need to. It's Lucky. Okay. back. We back. We back. What's going on, Israel? We definitely, we definitely still caught in the whole thing, the whole curse, this whole situation that you live in your own, in your house, in the surrounding area, in the community, in your country. All right, people smuggle, making, doing stuff to try get ahead. Why? Because it's so terrible. I mentioned to somebody today, you wait for a month, and you can't keep $200 in the bank. And if you keep the $200 in the bank, next 2 or 3 months you got to take it out. You just can't get ahead. The systems, all of the systems are pulling money from you. You might recognize it. How much money do you make in a week? Why you can't keep none of it? Why you can't get to keep none? You can't get to keep none, you know. You can't get to keep none of the money that you make. You make that money. You make that money this week. You can find. You have to buy. You have to buy food, right? You have to buy. If you have a car, you have to either pay for the car, or if you don't pay for the car, you have to buy fuel to put in the car. You have to maintain the car. You have to buy. When I say food, I talk about put food in your house, and then you might have to buy a little snack on the way. You want to be out and buy a little something, and then you have to pay. You get a light bill, and you might only have a light bill. You might have a cable bill. You might or might not have a water bill. You got a cell phone bill. You got to put minutes on that phone unless all you're doing is hustling Wi-Fi wherever you go. The system is just absorbing your money so easily that at the end of the week, you get paid $500 and you end up with $25 after you done pay all your bills. And then your thing is, well, I can pay all my bills, but you're broke. Listen, this is an indication. We've been there so long that is almost like second nature. Salakia. Okay, Salakia for that. Somebody was supposed to call me earlier. They just decided to call right in the middle of the live, eh? Okay. Anyway, but because they said they wanted to call, I didn't need to let them know. We need to talk later. Okay, so if you don't see, you've been here so long, you've been in this situation so long that you don't even recognize you're still in your slavery. Well, sorry, let me correct that. You grew up in your slavery. You just don't know. You grew up in it. You grew up in the struggle. You grew up watching everybody around you struggle, watching the people not teach you the proper morals. You grew up in that. And so now you find yourself smack dab in the middle of the struggle where you were used to not having anything, because those who get in place and set themselves up, they have it all. And they tell you, you just be good. When you die, you can get your reward. You can get your get back when you die. You don't believe in that. Those people living in heaven and we living in hell. All right. Anyway, that's a topic for another time. Okay. Now we into our international stuff, right? Now the because right then with the oh no, not yet. We ain't reached there yet. We still in the national stuff. We had a fire in Grand Bahama, and persons are displaced because of that. Now, as a safety professional, yes, fires could probably displace you, but fire could also cause your life. So you should have some basic stuff. You should have basic things like some kind of fire extinguisher, some kind of knowledge about fires and how to evacuation and how to evacuate and how you're going to evacuate, and if you can, because in these days and time we've made our houses almost like a prison, and we have bars to every window to keep people out, but it also keeps us in an emergency. So you need to figure those things out in the case of an emergency, how you get out, and then what is the most important is training, right? You let everybody know in the case of a fire, this is what you do. In case of a fire, this is what you do, and you do a little drill every once in a while. When my family was young, I did that with them. All right. Run a little drill. Tell them, okay, in the case of a fire, this is what you do. Frying pan on fire, do not throw water in it. Simple things like that. Find out what to do and have little drills. So, and put some systems in place so that you can be displaced, that's okay, but you don't have loss of life. So they might have had their systems in place because they're only temporary displaced, and maybe they even caught the fire quick enough. So after they clean it, they probably could go back into the same environment. All right, so that's the nationals, that's the local stuff, local or national. Let's talk a little bit about international. Okay. Okay, so we have this one is this is the person with a pastor, a man of the cloth, whatever you call it, whatever they are. Now, apparently, this one was arrested, and I don't know the nationality, but he was arrested, and he got charged with 5 felonies. Okay, after finding children neglected in deplorable conditions. I don't know how they could do it. Ages from 4 to 9, and what they use for toilet, a bucket, like they was inside the doggone a jail in the Bahamas, because that's what they say. I think they have some toilets now, though. But that's what they used in time before. One bucket in the corner, and you ain't gonna be the first man because the bucket was there for days. even if it's empty, it still smell like it. So don't do any crime, Israel. Stay out of them situations. If it's illegal, you don't do it. Okay? So you don't get to see the inside of a prison. I went to the prison one time to visit my brother, and I told him when I got there, I said, bro, I want you to know this. This one time, I'm not coming back. Okay, so I ain't going on my own, and I ain't coming back to see you. Anyway, let's continue on. So them felonies, yeah, you can land in prison for doing stupidness with the children. And apart from that, I don't know. I don't even want to hear that story. I don't want to hear any more of it, because that right there, the end of that story could be so horrifying. How long they've been in that? Oh man, that's just ridiculous. All right, so next one. Now this. I guess this is the second in command for Agent Orange. This known as Hexet, right? I think that's the second in command when it comes to the military stuff. So, what he's saying now? He's warned Cuba against acquiring weapons, right? That could threaten the United States during a visit to Guantanamo Bay. You know where Guantanamo Bay is? Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba, on the island of Cuba. Now, this fella, he telling you, hey, bro, I come in on your back porch. Don't get no weapons that could threaten me when I come on your back porch. That's what he's saying. Bro, I'll get it sawed out and put it outside the window so you can see it. Shalom, Israel. But these are the things. And Cuba is part of that 12 tribes. Cuba is under the curse. If you don't believe Cuba is under the curse, you need to go there, because I hear the conditions. Oh man, it's so terrible. It's not funny. The people ain't had light for such a long time. The water, and you all those old cars. You think that was a styling? You know what happened to them? They couldn't get no new cars. Under the embargo, they couldn't get new stuff. They had to keep them same old stuff and keep them running. They put an embargo on them for what? I don't know, 50 years they had an embargo on them. And now Trump just come and turn it up a little more. Just turn it a little more. Just turn it a little tighter. People that probably ain't got no water now. All right? Anyway, they don't want to be threatened. Of course, we see some of the stuff, the international stuff. You got tensions still continuing apparently there's this escalation of fighting in the Middle East with Apache, and that's a helicopter, right? So I don't want to black out, but that's an Apache helicopter, and was shot down, right? Let me see tensions escalate the Middle East to a direct strike on the U.S. or a direct strike on Apache. I know we get shot down or what, maybe. And what Agent Orange say? Agent Orange, remember the code name? Agent Orange. She said that the U.S. will hit Iran hard, right? That's what he's saying. In response to that, hit them hard. But on the other hand, he say he still want a deal. All right. Oh man, the Israeli strike have continues on the Lebanese city. Um, even after even Lebanese city of Tyre, despite warnings from Iran to stop. You know, again, the people who in the Holy Land, the imposters in the Holy Land, I call them not. The imposters in the Holy Land. They don't listen to anyone. It's always been like that. From I was very, very young listening to them, they never listen to anyone. Whatever they want to do, they just go and do it. And they claim that they're the chosen people, so everybody backs down. But the real chosen people, everybody kicking us in the butt. And the Bible say that you ain't gonna be in no position of power. So it can't be them. They can't be the people. All right. Okay, so that's still going on. Now, according to the media, we got certain things going around the earth, right? Um, different viruses. Ebola is the big one that's going around, and of course, you're trying to keep a handle on that. You get mpox, used to be named monkeypox, and I guess that's because it's derived from a monkey, right? With monkeypox, and then we also have like dengue fever that's still going around. You get it from mosquitoes, um, and then the parvovirus, and then you have the measles. And that measles has been around from when I was a child. The measles really swell up your jaw or something like that. hmm And the biggest health concerns is still, heart disease, and of course, most of the time, lifestyle, cancer, and diabetes, especially with the 12 tribes. Okay, especially with the 12 tribes, those are illnesses. I know that the most serious events right now on the earth is actually still global warming. The earth is still warming up, and nobody's checking for it, but it is warming up. Okay, and in the Bahamas, as we a low lying level, we have to be concerned about that because as the earth warm up, we're going to be losing land mass. That's what happens. It happens. Okay, so we're going to jump across and get into our lesson. We're talking about, we're going through the Bible, talking about some of the significant developments as we go through the Genesis story. That's what we've been doing. We started out at the beginning, and so we seem to be just going through it slowly. Let's picking on a couple of points and talking about them. Not trying to break down the whole entire book of Genesis. Okay, we just touching some points here and there. So what I was trying to do, Salakia. What I was trying to do is get us to have like a little understanding of the events and the people that we come in contact with through the scriptures as we come through the Genesis story. And when we get to the Israelites, then we're gonna, break off a little bit into who is who. That's an important piece we're gonna talk about because that's another identifying marker of who's gonna be where. And believe it or not, there's a lot you could grasp from that. Now we talked about we got as far as Abraham, and I think we even started to talk about Isaac because we had to talk about Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael was born a long, years before Isaac, in so much that I guess at the time when Isaac was born, Ishmael was big enough to be running around. I think he was in a teenage or something like that. But the Lord still only said to Abraham, "Come and sacrifice your son, your only son." Okay. Now that happened, and all of that was happening. of course, we talk about Lot and Abraham's separation. Now, the other thing what happened was interesting in the story was that while Lot lived one place, Abraham lived another place. For some reason, these kings decided that they were gonna go and jack Lot up, right? So they actually went and they took Lot. They took Lot, and Abraham, Abraham got the people of his very house and they turned into a fighting machine. And Abraham went and he rescued Lot and his family and got their goods back. And then on the way back, that's when he paid tithes. That's when he met Melchizedek on the way, right? Um, see where we I put 15 in the topic, but I put 14 in the top, but I think we had already gone beyond that. Okay, so let's see. I want to talk a little bit about. Now we know. I want you to, as we were talking about these names, please be aware that I'm trying to make you aware of the amount of other persons that are on the earth at this time. There's a lot of other families, other tribes, nations are on the earth at this time. It's just not Abraham. It's just not Isaac. It's just not Jacob. Okay, when we get down the lines, as we subsequently go down these, it's not just only that person's family. There are plenty more thousands of people around. Okay, and so let me see. We just read this in Genesis chapter 15. Trying to see where I want to read from. Let me start at the 1 and see how much of that I want to actually skip. Okay. I think we had a little bit about this. After these, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in the vision, saying, Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abraham said unto God, What wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is Eliezer. We read that. So Abraham was crying unto the Lord, saying, the Lord promised him that he was going to have an heir from his own loins with Sarah. He didn't miss that out. But at that time he didn't. And so he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord reminded him that he was going to definitely have a child from his own loins. Okay, so Abraham even did a sacrifice right after that conversation. I want to get down to, because I know we talked about that a little bit. And let me just read down a little bit so we can see where it is. And Genesis 15 and verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, the smoke furnace and the burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Comenites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Raphims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. Now Sarah, so he's saying he basically given him the possession of the land, and all of these people were in that land too. Okay. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare no children, and she had an handmaid. So lucky we still. So okay, we need to jump over that because we already did that. Okay, and 17 is Abraham was 99 years old. Okay, so I'm going to read this part. And Abraham was 99 years old. The book of Genesis, chapter 17, and verse 1. And the Almighty God walked before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Salakia. We did go through this part. I'm trying to get down to a next subdivision of the scriptures. Okay, it talks about, well, we went over Ishmael already, and now you're trying to get down to Isaac as we go through. Okay, and okay, so now let's read this. The book of Genesis. Let me read on the book of Genesis, chapter 18, verse 7. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto the young man, and he hastened them to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Sarah, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which she was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of a woman. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, and my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At this time, at the time appointed, I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. And Sarah denied, she laughed. So we reading what's going on here as the angel had promised that Abraham would have a son. You see what I'm trying to establish here? This line, this river that flows through the scriptures that keeps us connected right all the way back to Abraham. So now Abraham is having this conversation, and this is an interaction with him and the prophet, the who is speaking to him on behalf of the Lord. And so right now he's confirming that Sarah definitely will have this son. All right. And now and so now we go into Genesis 18 and 21. I will go down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the city of it, which is come unto me. And if so, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. Abraham drew near and said, Will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure, there be 50 righteous within the city. So you know what we're going into now. We're going into the time where Abraham actually was bargaining for Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. So he kept going down. So he kept going down and going down. Yeah, he's down to and in the 31st verse he said, And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And there, so he kept going. I think he went down even to 10, if I'm correct on that. Let's see. Yes, in the 31st verse, Genesis chapter 18 and 32, and he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. Okay, so Abraham bargained the angel all the way down. for the angel to say he wouldn't destroy for 10 sake. And there came two angels to Sodom at even. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. So now we know, remember the story. Lot now, the angels now go now, because they hear about all this stuff going on in Sodom. What was going on? This where they get this sodomite from. The sodomite, they're I don't know what I could say, but they are people who have um they like the same they're the LGBTQRST, so they doing all sorts of things in Sodom and Gomorrah. And so the Lord, that came up to the Lord, and the Lord sent the angels down there to check it out. Let me go see what's going on down here. Not only to do that, but to do something. All right. And so Lot saw the angels coming, and Lot tried to bring them into his house, right? And they was gonna abide in the street. They said we'll abide in the street all night. That's a paraphrasing of verse number 2. And then Lot said, no. Y'all need to come in here, because Lot know the kind of people who's in the city. And so he fed them. And before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, come past the house round about, both old and young, and all the people from every quarter. These fellas are so thirsty from oh man. And they called unto Lot, and they said unto him, where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot ran out at the door, and shut the door behind after him, and said, I pray you, brother, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye whatsoever good in your eyes. Only these men do nothing. For therefore come they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow come in to sojourn, and he will need be the judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the men, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hands and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut the door. So this story telling you how the angels came in, and the angels there, and the people are so wicked in the city that they wanted to know, as the Bible says, know the men that came in there. But they was able to put Lot inside. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. So young and old didn't seem they could make no difference. They all was doing the same thing in Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. So now we know the story. Okay, so this is a little bit of confusion in this, like it's saying now. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons in law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get ye out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons in law. So I don't know, I got to get a breakdown on this one to see, because they talk about daughters not knowing man, and then they talk about son-in-law, So, but anyway, they start to get out of the city. They start to leave the city, and of course we know the story. Lot's wife looked back, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Right now, also we know the other significant thing that happened. What I may have mentioned the last time was Lot. This is, I'll read it. Genesis chapter 19 and verse 33. And they made their father drank wine that night. So the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the first one said unto the younger, Behold, I lay with yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine, that he may that night also. The younger rose and with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she stood up. So we see them having the father drink wine and laying down. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. So the two daughters, and this is the thing you have to remember now, okay? The firstborn bore a son and called him Moab, the Moabites. The younger one, Benanin, which is now called the Ammonites. Okay, so that's where you get Moab and Ammon, which is the Chinese and the Japanese. And Abraham joined, and I think when we touch on that, I still looking for. Okay, we see Abraham and Sarah going into places, and Abraham. I think the story there was a little bit back and forth, because as it talks about um, Abraham and Sarah at an old age, Sarah had to be a fine old woman, old for the king to still try to capture her when she was that old. So I think those stories were pretty young. Yeah, when she was a little younger. Okay, Genesis chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore unto him, Isaac. Okay, so this is the next critical point, the birth of Isaac. So Isaac, now let's see, isn't it Isaac? Basically, Isaac grew up, if I could recall, it hardly owed any events with Isaac himself, but some of the commentaries that I read, they say Isaac was a mama's boy. So, but we didn't see a whole lot. What you did see is when the Lord called Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, and he had made all preparations to do so. But then that also proved to the Lord that Abraham was willing to give up everything and anything for him. And so what that did, it caused Abraham to be even more. You see in Genesis chapter 22 and 22, so Salakia, 22 and 2. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah. Okay? That's where he was going to take him to sacrifice him. And he didn't. Of course, the Lord actually sent a ram in the thicket, and he sacrificed him. And we see in the 23rd book of Genesis, Sarah died in Kirjath Heber. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. So Sarah died. Now, then he asked his servant to go and find a wife for Isaac. I'm trying to identify that. Slack here. Yeah, we coming net at a time, a lot of reading again. But these things become very important for you to be able to follow what's happening in the scriptures. So we see as Sarah has died, and Abraham this is the book of Genesis chapter 24. And let's see where it's at. And verse 2. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that rule over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I need bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou comest? Abraham said unto him, beware that thou bringest not my son thither again. The Lord God of the heavens, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that swear unto me, saying, unto thy seed will I give this land, and he shall send his angels before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. So what he's basically saying, go there, the Lord can wake it up. Okay, so he went, you know the story, he went and he saw Isaac's wife. I think she was feeding the lamb or something, getting water. Yes. And so the damsel in 24 and 14. So it came to pass that the damsel whom I shall say, let down the pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. And she shall say, drink, and I will give thy camel drink also. So that was the little code he developed, and say, whoever say that can be the one. And that's exactly what happened. And so he went, and then when they went to Rebekah's house, they found out that that was Abraham's family. And this is when you say, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. The same thing that Adam said in the garden, which makes you understand that Adam and Eve were of the same tribe. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Not the same, the two persons who were the first two people on the earth, because they were not. Okay, so we see that happening. We see Isaac now. Of course, they stayed for a little while, and then they asked. After they stayed, they was holding them back from going, and then after the servant said, "Man, this nigga got to get back, you know." They said, "Well, let's ask Rebecca, you going?" And she said, "Yeah, I going." Okay, because of course the family they wasn't really feeling that. But when they get right down to it and they say, "Are you gonna be going?" They say, "Yeah." And so on the way back, all right. So they went back, and even before they got all the way back, before even Rebecca got back, Isaac was out in the field, and she saw him, and she covered her face, and then, and so basically I'm trying to find the scripture what actually says it. But when she went back with the servant, and all she did was Rebecca came, Isaac and had the little get together, went into Rebecca's tent, and that was Isaac's wife when she came out. And this is another place where we say that, you know, the sexual intimacy is marriage. Nobody they didn't have any papers to sign. And of course, we realize the confusion when it comes up. So because we are amongst the heathen, you need paper to sign because Israel is not in charge. You need paper to sign because people to be doing so much skullduggery. They marrying you but got something else on their mind. Okay, so you need a paper sign, and you need all sorts of things because people are not honest. And the system is not honest, but it binds you in. So we don't ascribe to this whole system of binding. But on the other hand, we also say if for some reason you must get the legal documentation, then you go ahead and do that. All right, so Zalakia, I think we still only got down to Isaac. And This is the book of Genesis, chapter 24, and verse 67. So Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac comforted was comforted after his mother's death. Okay, so what do you mean he took her? That's it. What Trump say? What Trump say he's gonna do with the people tanker? Oh, you stop the tanker by them. You know they was coming out and you stop the tanker. Okay, so what you can do with the tanker? He said, oh, we just take it. We just take it. So that's what Isaac did. He took it. He took her. Okay. Now, okay, so now we wanna follow. We wanna leave off Abraham now. We want to basically follow Isaac.
Salakia, Salakia, sir.
They coming there.
Okay, before you leave off Abraham, what is it that got Abraham, that made Abraham trust God so much? And how do we equate that in our modern day lives? When the Lord said to him, take thy son, thy only son, whom thou lovest, to sacrifice. He just trusted God. He just believed in God. What is it that made him trust God so much, you think?
Good question. I may have to get a little bit of help on that one. But nevertheless, but the first thing, if you go back and think about, he had to ask, when he asked Abraham to leave his family, that was a big thing too. I think that when you practice trust in God, trust in the Most High, I think when you practice doing that, you get better over time. You start to trust him with anything and everything. And so when he asked him to leave his homeland, I think that was the beginning of trust. So I would think that over time, he just trusted him more. And so when it get down to that time, he said, well, I trusted him in everything else. And you know how we look at it and how we think Abraham looked at it, that Isaac he came back, and if he had to go back by his hand, he'll come back again. I know I heard that breakdown, that Isaac would come from the dead and he'll come back again in the reincarnation. Now, we think a whole lot more about death in our society and time if you think about it than they thought about it then. Because as they find you breaking the law in the days of Moses, they just kill you. Right? I mean, not just unalive you. They unalive you. They stone you until you get unalive. And so they thought less about life than we do today. We hold it very, very sacred. That but people who are breaking the laws or doing the wrong thing, they took it lightly. And if you're gonna follow the law, there will be some hard things you have to do. But I think all that's a test. And so I believe he realized that every time it's a test. So when you get a hard test to do, you have to rise up to the occasion. So what caused him to be like that? It had to be him practicing over time. It had to be. It had to be him practicing. Every time he get a little test, he passed it. He didn't keep falling back. And so when that big test come, he would say, well, I wait all of this time for this son, but if you say I need to send him back to you, all right, I can send him back today. I think that's what he did. I hope I answered that the best I can. And of course, we could run it in the chat and get some more clarification.
Yes. And the second part to my question was, in our modern day life. So you're saying then that the more we trust God, the more we trust God. The more tests we pass, the more we trust God. Is that what you're saying then?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Practice makes perfect. Practice doing the right thing, and you get better at it all the time. And even people who practice doing things that are not right, they get better at that too. So we practice doing the right thing. Practice make perfect. Just keep practicing at doing the right thing. The Lord will be with you. Believe it or not, the Lord will be with you. Even if people don't believe it or understand it, the Lord will definitely be with you in them times. So yeah, practice. Even though when you don't feel, a lot of times you don't feel strong, feel good, feel like doing it. That's when you have to do it. You be by yourself, and you have the opportunity to do things that you know nobody can know about. That's when you got to be on your best behavior. The Lord see it, And you're gonna find every time and this is what I think happened to Abraham. Every time he passed the small things, he got more strength to do the bigger thing. And so every time you practice, you get more strength to do the bigger thing. So when the big thing come, you'll be all pumped up because you didn't practice everything. Why do you think David could have killed Goliath? Right? Because he didn't practice on some other little things, what was as fast, but again he did it, and then he said, "Well, I can try this one too." So yes, practice. I hope I
Tuwada.
did that well enough for you.
Tuwada. Kan. Tuwada.
Okay. All right. And we're actually up on the time, but I want to talk a little more before we go because I want to. So we go to Isaac now. In Isaac's life, the thing is, it wasn't so much things um, about Isaac. I know the next event is when it was the delivery of the twins, right? That's Jacob and Esau. So Jacob and Esau, and we know from the story that they were fighting in the stomach of their mommy, right? Um, and so they came out, and we're gonna find that. We might just leave it till the next time, but just let me take a quick glimpse here. But it's also significant. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 27, and the first verse. And it came to pass when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so he could not see. He called Esau the eldest son, and said unto him, My son, Salakia, I didn't even go that far. I want to go at the birth. Okay, so we'll what we'll do is clip it here at the 25th. And so when we jump back in, we'll talk about Isaac and his life, and then we get into Jacob and Esau. So with that, you know, clip it right there. Any questions before we close up? Are you good? So lucky I didn't hear what you say. You're unmuting, but I still didn't hear you.
Tuwada. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, we had ISUPK. Started at 1 West 125th Street under Commanding General Yahano. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limit for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves off the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has a particular interest in a person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to the brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10 is tenth in the Hebrews. It's pronounced Ma'ashira. 10% of every penny of any increase that the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests. And it's not mandatory. Whatever amount you like to give, you can give. I had a holy convocation identified. I think it was the blowing of trumpets. I have to get that. Salakia for that. I have to write that down. Remind Akim and Akwathian to check the social media for events and material. ISUPK.com, ISUPK.org. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, he should start wearing all black, which include black boots, black pants, black shirt, black headband or scarf. And with that, we'll say to them, any of the men that see us in the future, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Prakata. And the sister will say, Yahweh Shema Alatam Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shema Latam Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai.
Shalom, sis. Tawad Shona.
Shalom. And